Hello dear students, very good morning. Welcome to another lecture. As you all know, we are reading lesson number 4, The Rattrap, written by Selma Lagerlof. We are on page number 35. Before we start today's lecture, let's have some glimpse from the previous lecture. We will recall some important things. The Rattrap seller was in a very miserable condition, was dead tired, and was unable to move, unable to come out of the forest because uh, the paths he walked on were twisted, and something happened that the paths were leading him to the same place where he started, and after a very long struggle, he failed to come out of the forest. Finally, he decided to lay down as his body parts replied him to work more or do any exercise, and his all thoughts were leading towards the point of death. He recalled the death, his own death. He concluded that his death was not far away. Now he finally laid down, but once he lay down on the ground, he heard some sounds which were coming in a nearby place, and he guessed that these sounds were coming something like hammering of iron, and there his guess was rather correct, and his senses were working very properly. He was not deceived by any illusion, and therefore and while from the sounds were coming, the writer has given us a detail regarding this also. There happened a firm that's Ramshaw Ironworks, and it was now a closed down work. It was not fully functioning. There was a large plant with a smelter and rolling mill, and a forge was there. All these things which I mentioned were working with iron. And besides these things, there were all various kinds of the boats who were coming or who were coming with the heavy loads of the raw material or the crude iron, and many things, many hustle and bustle were usually being witnessed there. Now, after this, the writer, what writer tells us, or what writer has penned it down, let's read. During one of the long dark evenings just before the Christmas, the master Smith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace, waiting for a big iron which had been put in the fire, to be ready to put on the anvil. During one of the long dark evenings, this evening, on which the Rattrap seller was struggling for his life, and meanwhile he was listening, he was hearing some sounds coming from a nearby place. On that very moment, on that very time, the head smith and his helper were very much present on the place where the Ramshaw Ironworks used to function. and the master Smith and his helper were near the dog forge, near the furnace, and they were waiting for the pig iron to be heated. And they were making some preparations. Once the iron is heated, once it will the temperature will raise to the desired degrees, the iron will be put on the anvil and will be shaped according to their choice. Now the pig iron means the crude iron, that is the direct product of the blast furnace, and anvil on which the iron is being kept and then hammered and shaped. Anvil is actually a block of iron which is flat on the upper side, steel faced, and on which metal is the heated metal or the very warm metal is kept on it, and is usually done by hand hammering. आपके लिए मैं उर्दू में बता दूं कि आप जो चीज़ें आपको रह गई हैं, जो आपको अंडरस्टैंड नहीं हुई हैं, जो हमने अभी डिस्कस किया, तो शायद आप लोग उसको अच्छी तरह से समझ लें कि हम जो राइटर है उसने हमें उस जगह के बारे में बता दिया जहाँ से वो आवाज़ें रैट्रैप सेलर ने सुनी थी। इन आवाज़ों को उसने क्या किया था कि सुना था जब वो इंतहाई नाजुक सूरत हाल से गुज़र रहा था। वो सोच रहा था कि उसकी मौत का वक्त अब करीब आ चुका है, क्योंकि उसके जिस्म के एज़ा अब कुछ करने से जवाब दे चुके थे, क्योंकि वो इस जंगल के ऐसे रास्तों में फंस चुका था जिन रास्तों पर वो चलकर जंगल से बाहर नहीं आ सकता था। तो उसी दौरान उसने कुछ आवाज़ें सुनी। ये आवाज़ें लोहे को मारने की आवाज़ें थी। तो इन आवाज़ ये कहाँ से आ रही थी? राइटर ने हमें बिल्कुल उसका खाका खींचा है कि वहाँ पर एक फर्म हुआ करती थी जो रैम्सजू अनवर्क्स की फर्म थी, लेकिन आज बंद हो चुकी थी। लेकिन वहाँ पर लोहे की एक भट्ठी थी जहाँ लोहा गर्म किया जाता था, उसको फ्यूज़ किया जाता था, चीज़ें बनाई जा रही थी। वहाँ पर लोडेड जो बोट्स थे वो आ रही थी, वो साजो सामान लेकर यहाँ से जा रही थी। सब कुछ वहाँ हो रहा था। वहाँ पर बड़े बड़े क्रेट्स लगे हुए थे जिन पर चारकोल लादा जा रहा था। ये तमाम चीज़ें वहाँ तमाम डेवलपमेंट्स वहाँ हो रही थी। अब जबकि ये आवाज़ें अब ये क्लोज डाउन तो हो चुकी है, लेकिन ये आवाज़ें कैसे आ रही थी, इस बारे में राइटर कह रहा है कि वहाँ पर जो हेड स्मिथ था, ये क्रिसमस के नज़दीक के दिन थे। क्रिसमस अब आने ही वाली थी और दिसंबर का महीना था। आपको पता है कि क्रिसमस 25 दिसंबर को मनाई जा रही है और नज़दीकी दिन थे, यानी सर्दियों के दिन थे। तो मास्टर स्मिथ जो हेड स्मिथ वहाँ पर था, अपने एक कारामोज़ के साथ, यानी अपने एक हेल्पर के साथ वो वहाँ पर मौजूद था। वो भट्टी के नज़दीक था। उन्होंने वहाँ क्रूड आयरन इसमें दाखिल किया हुआ था। इसको वो हीट अप कर रहे थे, गर्म कर रहे थे, ताकि वो उस टेम्परेचर तक पहुँच जाए। इसको एनविल पर रखा जाए। एनविल एक क्या होता है कि एक ब्लॉक होता है, एक तख्ता होता है, लोहे का बना होता है, लेकिन वो स्टील फेस्ड का होता है और इस पर इस गर्म किए हुए लोहे को रखा जाता है। फिर उसको हाथ से मारा जाता है, हथौड़े से मारा जाता है, ताकि उसको डिज़ायर्ड शेप दी जाए। जो भी चीज़ें उसको बनाई जा सकें। And what happened after did even now and then one of them got up to stare the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning in a few moments, dripping with perspiration, though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of the wooden shoes. And what was happening there, the one of them, whether it was the head smith himself or his helper, they were going near the mouth of the furnace, and they were stared the glowing moss, whether it was a charcoal or anything else or wood. And uh, when they returned of spending after spending few minutes there, they were dripped in perspiration, means the lot of sweat have come out of their body. They have excreted a lot, secreted a lot, though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of the wooden shoes. The man, there was a custom when somebody works with the iron or works in a furnace, he wears nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Perhaps pair of wooden shoes were being worn because they were because everything was hot there. The temperature was hot. The wooden shoes would have been less affected by the hot substances. That may be one of the reasons. मतलब यह है कि जो वहाँ पर ब्लैक स्मिथ था, हेड ब्लैक स्मिथ था, या उसका वो कार अमोज था जो उसे काम में मदद कर रहा था, दोनों में से एक वहाँ जा रहा था और उस आग को, वो मटेरियल को भड़का रहा था ताकि टेम्परेचर जल्दी से रेज हो जाए और चीज़ें जल्दी से गर्म हो जाएं। लेकिन ये करते हुए वो पसीने पसीने हो जाते थे। वहाँ पर एक रिवाज हुआ करता था। इस रिवाज के तहत क्या होता था कि जो उनके जिस्म पे जो ड्रेस था वो एक लॉन्ग शर्ट हुआ करती थी और पाँव में उन्होंने वुडन शूज़ यानी क्लॉग्स जिन्हें कहते हैं अंग्रेज़ी में, उनको वो पहना करते थे। शायद उसकी वजह ये हो सकती है कि वुडन शूज़, क्योंकि वहाँ पर चीज़ें जो हैं भट्ठी के सामने हर चीज़ गर्म होती है, चाहे वो आयरन हो, चाहे वो आग के वो छोटे मोटे वो शोले होंगे। इससे जो गर्म लकड़ी के शूज़ हैं उनको कम से कम नुकसान पहुंच सकता होगा इनके पाँवों को और इन शूज़ को भी। All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge, and in the forge there were many sounds, clattering sounds of the iron. These sounds created by burning of these burning material there. The big bellows ground. Bellows means it's an instrument or machine. These machines were producing some groaning sounds, and the burning coal cracked, and when the coal burns it cracks, it bursts, something giving a bursting voice, cracking voice. The fire boy shoveled the charcoal into the maw of the furnace, and there was a fire boy who shoveled. Shovel is shovel जैसे हम it's an instrument. From using this you take up and throw something away or heap it on a particular place, or digs the soil, जिसे हम उर्दू में वो बेलचा वगैरह के नाम से पुकारते हैं। And the fire boy was shoveling the charcoal into the maw. Maw का मतलब है द receptacle into which the substance is taken or being putting into. We took into a biological term, it's a receptacle into which food is taken by swallowing into the stomach. मॉ को हम क्या कहते हैं कि ये एक स्टोमिक की तरह होता है या मैन टैंक की तरह होता है, जिसमें चारकोल वगैरह डाला जाता है किसी भट्टी के पास बेलचों वगैरह की मदद से, और इसको डालकर वहाँ पर जो हमें डिज़ायर्ड रिज़ल्ट्स हैं वो वहाँ पर हासिल कर सकते हैं। तो इसकी भी आवाज़, ये दरअसल राइटर हमें बता रहा था कि आवाज़ें किम वहाँ आ रही थी, शोर किम वहाँ पैदा हो सकता था जब बेलचे को इसे इस तारकोल के मौ में डाला जाता था, तो एक क्लैटरिंग साउंड पैदा हो जाती थी। आउटसाइड रोड द वाटरफॉल and a sharp north wind whiffed the rain against the brick tiled roof. और बाहर क्या होता था? Roared the waterfall. When the water falls from a high place, water descends from a higher place and dropped at once to the ground. It creates a voice, that's the roaring voice. And a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof, and there was the roof which was tiled with bricks, यानी फर्श जो था इनकी टाइलिंग की गई थी ईंटों से, and it looks that the rain was lashing on it, यानी मारने की आवाज़, की आवाज़ वहाँ भी पैदा होती थी इन रेन ड्रॉप्स से। It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. Now we reach about which we are eager to know what would have happened to the Rattrap seller. The Rattrap seller had come and he had walked slowly, or he had pursued what the voice was coming, and meanwhile he was walking, but the head smith and his associates were not judged his arrival, or not they have not seen him. Why they have not seen him? This we mentioned because there was the noise, much of noise was being created by different things, different instruments, waterfalls, etc., so that they could not have judged his arrival. So it was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge, and the Rattrap seller has opened even the gate of the forge, and he had entered near the forge, but it was not noticed by anybody until he stood close to the furnace. Surely it was nothing unusual for the good vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of the light which escaped through the sooty pans, and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. ऊपर जो चीज़ें हमने डिस्कस की, इन चीज़ों में ये भी है कि बहुत सारा शोरगुल वहाँ पर था, लेकिन वहाँ जिस चीज़ से हमें ज़्यादा दिलचस्पी है वो यही है कि आखिर रैट्रैप सेलर जो है, रैट्रैप सेलर का हुआ क्या। जब वो वहाँ उठा और उसने उन आवाज़ों का पीछा किया, वो तब तक जब तक हमने ये डिस्कस किया, वो अपनी इन आवाज़ों का पीछा करता रहा और जब तक उसने गेट भी खोला इस फर्नेस का और फर्नेस के आगे भी वो खड़ा हो गया, तो हेड स्मिथ या इसके किसी एसोसिएट ने इसको नहीं देखा। क्यों नहीं देखा? क्योंकि उसको जज ही नहीं किया। इस गेट खोलने की आवाज़ भी उनके कानों तक नहीं पहुंच गई क्योंकि वहाँ बहुत शोर था। अब राइटर कह रहा है कि surely it was nothing unusual for the four vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the sooty glow of the light which escaped through the sooty panes. It was not less than a heaven for the vagabonds. Vagabonds, I have earlier told you that they are the wanderers, and there was a better chance for them. The furnaces or the sights of the fire attract their attention. They at once move towards those places where they judged the fire, where they judged some sort of heat or some sort of light. They at once follow these attractions, and they went there without any hesitation. यानी वो जो वैगाबॉन्ड्स हैं, दर बदर घूमने वाले लोग हैं, जब सर्दी का मौसम होता है तो जो ही उन्हें किसी जगह कोई लाइट या कोई गर्म करने की चीज़ उन्हें मिल नज़र आए तो उन्हें वहाँ जाने से वो अपने आप को रोकते नहीं हैं। और आम तौर पर ये लाइट जो उस भट्टी से जाती थी, the pans were sooty, mean black pans, smoked pans were there, and through those smoked pans the light were coming out, and the black this Rattrap seller have seen the light, and he followed, and to come and warm themselves in front of the fire. This was not only the case of the Rattrap seller, but all the vagabonds, all the wanderers, all those people who have who are unable to reach their destinations when they are somewhere found them they are somewhere finding themselves helplessly in the midst of the darkness of the night. The blacksmith glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. The intruder, who was the intruder? Intruder was the Rattrap seller, and the blacksmith glanced him. He casually watched him, not give him any importance. यानी उससे बिल्कुल उसने क्या किया कि अचानक उसकी नज़र उस पर पड़ी जिसकी वो तवक्कुल नहीं कर रहा था, और ये एक ओकेजनल मामला था, ये बाय चांस हुआ था. इट वाज नॉट, his arrival was not expected by anybody, and it was not any surprise to them, because people like him usually come and visit on those sites. The blacksmith glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. He looked the way of the people his type usually did, with a long beard, 30, ragged, and with a bunch of rat traps tangling on his chest. And he was looking as the people like him usually look. He was having a long beard. He was not neat and clean, but was very dirty. He has not put on a very good dress, very neat dress. His dress was ragged and was dirty, and with a bunch of rat traps dangling on his chest. And this was unusual. This was his specialty. The rat traps were dangling. Dangling means they were swinging, they were hanging, they were being let loose by him round his neck and on his chest. This was his specialty. And what happened after this, let's discuss it in the coming lecture. Thank you very much.